Welcome to the launch of the ninth Swiss Venture Capital Report. My name is Stefan Chiora. I'm editor-in-chief of startupticker.ch, and together with my co-author Thomas Heimann, I'm writing the Venture Capital Report now for the ninth year. Of course, times are special for us, for you, for everybody. And you will also see some impact, some traces of these special times in the figures that we will present today. However, as an entrepreneur like you, like every startup founder, like every investor, we are trying to make the best of it. So here we are with the first Startup Ticker TV show, which might not be the last Startup Ticker TV show, we will see. The program that you can expect is more or less the same that we have also in the physical meetings. So we will start with a presentation of the key results of the venture capital report, and then we have a second part with partners presenting their offerings and some news. So you will have, I think, an interesting and exciting hour in the next hour. So let's go to the facts then. The topic is, or the summary in 3 words, a maturing market. You will see what this means in the next 20-25 minutes. The most important, there are Thomas and me. As I said, we are working together now for several years. And the most important, next slide please. Okay, there we go with key results. The total invested amount, you see it's again more than 2 billion on the left side, and on the right side you see the number of rounds. So now we have more than 300. Of course, these figures are quite different. So on the left side, you see for the first time since 2012 a drop in the total invested amount of about 7%, whereas the number of rounds is still growing year after year. And it was about 15% from 2019 to 2020. Next slide. These are the top 20 rounds. So the biggest financing rounds last year. You see here life sciences is in the lead. Several classical biotech startups, starting from Vectiv Bio, Monte Rosa, then all the way down to Matterhorn, T3 Pharma, NBE. Then we have also digital health companies here in among these top 20 rounds. So Sophia Genetics, we have medtech companies like Polaris Medical, and we have service providers in the biotech field with SkyCell. They are building and providing IoT containers for the logistics of biotech pharmaceuticals, including also vaccines for COVID. And then, of course, again, some ICT companies here among the top 20. What I want to mention is Innosuisse. There we have a crypto startup, and there are several other crypto startups that were able to attract more than 10 million from traditional VCs in the last year. Next slide. What is also remarkable here is that the top 20 rounds are only responsible for a bit more than 50% of total investments. This is clearly the lowest share ever. So back in 2012, we started with 80%, 78%, and it go down to 70%, and now it is only a half of the total investments. So this means that more and more companies are able to attract larger sums. And that total invested sum is not any longer really dependent on 1 or 2 important rounds. What also is very encouraging that we have more Swiss investors engaged in the biggest rounds. So in 11 of the top 20 rounds, there were Swiss investors involved. So we have more Swiss investors with deep pockets, also Swiss investors that are playing in this top league of global VC investors. Also good news, I think. And what is also very exciting, I guess, we have 2 startups among these top 20 that are only incorporated in 2020, and additional startups that are also very young. And for the next part of the presentation of the key results, I will hand over to Thomas Simon.
This presentation of the venture capital report. Here you can see the venture capital funds. So it's very important not only to have new investments, it's also important to have new funds. And here we conducted a survey in December with more than 40 VCs in Switzerland. And here you can see on the left-hand side, you can see the funding year of Swiss VC managers. You can see also the logos and each year. And these are only the still active managers. For sure, there are inactive managers, but we see also here funds, and below you can see the vintage or the funding year, and on the y-axis the number of funds. You can see clearly a trend. We have seen around the dot-com bubble, starting new funds after the financial crisis, and then clearly between 2015 and 2020, you can see a large number of new managers. This is an encouraging trend for the next years. And on the right-hand side, you can see that around 20 new funds will be raised over the next 6 to 12 months. Next, please. As always, we have also included a fundraising radar in the report, and there you can see that around 25 fund managers are in fundraising mode at the moment. This shows you all the managers, fund names with their focus on the geographic sector, development stage, and the target size. And we can clearly see that most of the managers focused on sectors, ICT, health tech, on various verticals, and we can clearly also see that a number of new sectors in the clean energy field, then crypto field, blockchain. We see various and a very diversified fundraising map here. Next slide, please. Another chapter we did this year is the unicorns, or the soon to be a unicorn. So we see or analyzed all the companies or the startups who raised funds in the past over the last 9 years, and 18 companies raised more than 100 million since 2012, when we started for the first time the venture capital report. And here you can see in yellow the ICT companies, ICT fintech. The green are the life sciences companies, biotech, medtech, and digital health. And then we have as well other companies. And you can see that Get Your Guide on the top, ADC Therapeutics, VFox. They raised more than 500 or 200 million over the last 9 years. Next slide, please. Yeah, and here you can see as well with tied unicorns inside. So we compared these numbers with the top European countries like Sweden, Netherlands, Israel, Germany, and UK. The green ones, again, these are the life sciences companies, and the yellow ones, the ICT fintech companies. And in Switzerland, biotech and ICT are clearly in the lead. Overall, these 35 startups raised 4.9 billion. This is around more than 50% of the overall amount invested into startups since 2012. This is 9.5 billion in total, and 35 startups received more than 50%, and total we have around 1,400 companies, so this is 3%, only 3% received more than 50%. Then we also studied the results, and there you can see that 75% of these companies are still private, and of the remaining 25%, half went public and half had been acquired. So last year we had also a report regarding exit, and there we still see some challenges for companies doing an IPO. And this is something which is in the US more pronounced. There we would see more and larger amount of companies who would do an IPO instead to be still private. Next slide, please. Then on the report, as usual, we are analyzing the results related to sectors. There you can see that biotech is now back at the top after 2 years of absence, with around 820 million invested into biotech companies. And then we have 720 million which was invested into ICT and fintech companies, and then we have various sectors with clean tech, an increase around 170 million, medtech 160 million, and then we have digital health with 160 million, and others with around 100 million. So again, over 1.1 billion was invested into one sector in life sciences. Last year it was ICT. This year life sciences with biotech, medtech and digital health. Then we also saw a large increase in the volume of medtech companies, double the amount, and digital health with plus 40%. What we see this year is missing mega rounds in ICT fintech. Last year we had Get Your Guide with 500 million and VFox with over 200 million. And this year these mega rounds are missing, but we think this could turn. We cannot expect every year around over 200 million, but not yet. Maybe we will see another mega round in the years to come. Next slide. These are the numbers of financing rounds. There we can see clearly that ICT is still growing, and on the other side we saw also clean tech with plus 70% and ICT said with plus 30%. Around a 20% increase in medtech and digital health, and we saw a lower number for biotech, -7%, and fintech, -3%. Please. Then we also studied the impact of the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdowns, and we in first half of the year we published the half-year report of the venture capital report, and then we asked us the question how the second half would be, and here we studied the financing rounds, and the bond or the fund or the line, the red line, you can see the ICT and the life sciences 2020. And then you can see also the 2019, the dotted line, ICT and fintech. And you can clearly see a trend that and ICT overall is more influenced than life sciences overall. And we saw some drops in March and October when the first and the second lockdown or restriction took effect. And then what we also saw is a pent-up demand or recovery in July and August. And also for us as a biotech investor at HBM, we had the busiest summer period ever. We invested in new companies, and we can also see here that this recovery took place in July and August during otherwise very more or quiet months. Next slide, please. The phases, what's astonishing is also that early stage rounds, Series A, we had more than 30% increase. in early stage rounds, and in seed rounds 27% increase in volume. And on the other side, later stage round, as I said before, the larger mega rounds was more or less active, so we can see that 21%, a decrease of 21%. Overall, around a third of all number of rounds were made in early stage. And we also saw that around almost 3 times more money was invested into fintech companies, plus 170%, and that's also astonishing. Before we saw a little bit a decrease in the volumes, but if you look where the money was invested, then you can see that between 10 and 20 million, we saw more fintech rounds or ICT rounds than last year. Digital health is the exception with a minus of 16% in early stage rounds, and we saw an increase in later stage rounds or volumes in medtech with more than 4 times. Next slide. Regarding, as I said before from Stefan, regarding the top rounds, we see here the top 20 rounds. Top 20, you can see the gray one and the other ones on the left-hand side. You can see it's more diversified than last year. The share of the top 20 is around 55%. 5 years ago, it was 83%. And we saw clearly an increase of 38% in rounds above 10 million. This also results in a higher median of financing round. Per financing round, it increased to 3 million. And fintech, it's astonishing. The amount per round is 4.5 million. This is more than double the volume last year was invested into one round. Next slide. As I said, here you can see that 5 startups received more than 100 million for the second time in a row. And the numbers are clearly increasing, rounds between 20, 100 and above 100, the green ones. And in total, 16 startups received more than 20 million. Last year it was 13 startups. So also these numbers is increasing. And as I said before, we saw new fintech companies in this area in total around between the 10 and 20 million. Around half of these rounds were made in Series A in early stage. Next slide. To conclude, overall, the number for ICT decreased, but in the end, you can see it here, the number between 5 to 10 and 10 to 20 increased a lot, with around 50%, 5 to 10 million, and on the right-hand side, 10 to 20, plus 83%. And on the next slide, you can see fintech, strong demand for fintech rounds, so between 5 to 10, 10 to 20, more or the 7-fold increase in number of rounds. So there are more fintech companies who received an investment from a VC than ever. So with this, I will hand over to Stefan for the next parts.
Yeah, so next chapter is about cantons, and here the message is an easy one. There's one canton that really stood out in 2020, and that is Basel-Stadt. Basel-Stadt was had usually a total invested amount of about 130, 160 million, and last year it was more than 500 million, so more than 400% more than 2019. And on top of that, there was a unicorn exit, the sale of NVE Therapeutics to Boehringer Ingelheim for more than 1 billion euro. So a very good year for the canton. And the reason, of course, is that the location is slowly changing from a traditional pharma location to a real biotech hotspot that is also on the radar of the top VCs in this field. And you see what can happen when Switzerland can really make it to the map of these investors. Next slide, please. Of course, Switzerland is regionally diverse, and this is also the case for 2020. You see smaller ecosystems coming up, like St. Gallen, where you have local investors, where you have serial entrepreneurs, and the university, of course. You have support organizations, and they had a quite good year for the second time. We have more investment in Valais. We have also a bigger round in Lucerne in the field of medtech. So it is regionally diverse, even if you look at the invested amount. And there are upcoming ecosystems also outside the traditional bigger cantons like Zurich, Basel, Vaud, Geneva. What is always very remarkable in the last years is Zug. So again, a record year regarding the invested amount, 2020. And we have several growth rounds from in several industries. So we have a biotech round, we have SkyCell, I mentioned them before. We had also Yamo working on baby food. We have crypto, of course. So a very diverse canton showing a remarkable performance. Next slide, please. Okay. The conclusion, what we saw last year, I would say higher maturity of the whole ecosystem, so a more balanced investment activity, not so much dependent of a few very, very large rounds. We see also more growth rounds. Thomas mentioned that, more rounds between 10 and 20 million, more rounds between 20 and 100 million. We have also more Swiss investors in the top league, Swiss investors accepted in very good groups of investors investing in the most exciting startups from Switzerland. That's also necessary for the ecosystem. So in this here we have a clear progress to more maturity. Another progress is regarding global visibility. As I said, Swiss biotech is absolutely on the map of top investors around the world. We also see, I mean, we said this also in the last years, but I think this year it's absolutely clear. Biotech is a role model for the whole ecosystem. The sector is even more mature than ICT, which is very young in Switzerland. So we started to speak about an ICT startup ecosystem in 2016, so 5 years ago. That's very young, and I see that up and down that we see now in ICT investment is also tied to this young age of the ICT system. It's different in biotech. In biotech, we have more or less growth year after year. This speaks for the higher maturity of this sector. And the last point here, crisis. What crisis? I mean, we all think of 2020 as a crisis year, but this is only partially true for startups and for the VC market. First, there was always enough money around due to the booming stock markets, due to low interest rates. So also from the side of investors, it was absolutely possible to raise new funds. In addition, for the startups, we had a lot of opportunities in life sciences, not only regarding COVID, but also around. We had a booming stock market in this field. We had a very successful IPO of ADC Therapeutics from Lausanne at Nasdaq. We had a also successful IPO from HiQ. And of course, there are also a lot of opportunities in digitization that benefited several startups in the ecosystem. So I think this picture of 2020 as a crisis year is only in parts really what the year really was. Next slide, please. The magazine, we will upload it at 10 a.m. and you can download it then from startupticker.ch. Of course, has several other articles. We have a longer interview with Michael Hengartner. He is now president of the ETH board and very active regarding startups. So I think it's a quite interesting interview. We have an article about Versant Ventures. That is one of the VCs very active in Basel. They have a incubator there, and you will learn in our article what they are doing there and why they are in this region, and how this incubator of this US VC works in Basel. And then, of course, we have the list of exits and about 300 financing rounds in the magazine with all details that you want to know. Next slide, please. Yeah, thanks to partners and sponsors. Of course, it's not possible to do this without having the necessary means. You will see 5 partners right after me now. We have also a print version, so if you want to have one, just go to your profile on Startupticker and order it, and we will send it to you. And everything else you find on Startupticker from 10 a.m. So now I will hand over to Silvan. He's the moderator of the second part of the event, and he will introduce you to the several partners that we have here.
Thank you very much, Stefan. It's my pleasure to welcome you to 5 short pitches where we introduce you to 5 very important initiatives in the startup ecosystem. And we do start with our very own Startupticker Foundation, and therefore I welcome Ulrich Geilinger to the stage.
Thank you very much. I don't want to give a pitch actually. I want to first thank Stefan Chiora and Thomas Heimann and I don't want to give a pitch really, I just want to say a few words. First of all, I would like to thank Thomas Heimann and Stefan Chiora for their great report. Everybody who has contributed, it's fantastic, and the numbers are astonishing. I mean, over 2 billion has been invested last year in over 300 companies. I mean, it's just amazing, and it was not the easiest year in general terms, you know, with COVID. But it really shows that things are really going well. It's good news for Swiss innovation, for venture capital, and for startups. 2020 was also a very busy year for the Startupticker. There was this half-year report done, and the team published over 1,500 articles, news articles, so it's really serving the Swiss VC community and startup community with news. Great stuff. Next slide. And I would like to thank the whole team, which is expanded now. It's not just Stefan Chiora, other people also work and contribute. So it's really a great effort. And the news they bring is read by a lot of people, as you can see. So that's fantastic. Then the next slide, please. The Startupticker as the Swiss news site for startups is, of course, supported by many partners, 40 partners of all. And, the key partners are mentioned here: Innosuisse, Gebert Rüff Foundation, UBS, and Swiss Entrepreneurs Foundation. So thanks a lot to all of these partners for contributing also some money to this effort, so we can, from the Startup Ticker, really provide the coverage of the startup scene in Switzerland. And so last but not least, I would like to mention and also thank one person who is not here today. Yes, it's Klaus Niedermann. He has been the founder of co-founder of Startupticker, and but he has been in this business of covering the Swiss startup scene for over 30 years. So he's really a pioneer in news coverage. He has done early on. He has done innovation page for the Cash magazine. I don't know who remembers the Cash magazine. It was at that time a really successful Swiss newspaper, and so he has written thousands of articles and produced many brochures, including Gründen and others. Very, very active person. And Klaus, unfortunately, has a cold today, so he's not here. But I hope, Klaus, you can see me and us here. And we would like to thank you for your great contribution for over all these years as a journalist to help bring the startup scene Switzerland to the public. Thanks a lot. And let's give him a little hand here. Come in front with all the best, Klaus. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ulrich, for that information. And we continue. We travel to the Swiss Federal Innovation Agency. Over Zoom, we have Dominique Gruhl, who will tell us more about Innosuisse. The stage is all yours.
Thank you very much. Start by showing my screen. Thank you, and I'm very pleased to be here today to also give you a little bit of information on Innosuisse, the Swiss Innovation Agency. My name is Dominique Gruhl, and I'm heading the startup division. And I wanted to start with just a little quote here that reminds us in which type of situation we're in. So these amazing results showed today, they're great, but we do know that people that have led to these results had to put a lot of work into making this happen. There are new opportunities to be grasped. It's time to differentiate ourselves, and Innosuisse is there to support your startups in running as fast, but mostly as efficiently as possible, and to support you along the way. Now, I wanted to show you a few images of some of the female founders that Innosuisse has supported in the past, to show you who grasps these opportunities of support by Innosuisse. So we have here the founders of Mobot, Dagsmeyan, Caresoma Selected, Dimpora, AgroSustain, and Futurite Technologies. And they're not the only ones who took advantage of this support. As you can see, the Innosuisse programs are also growing in popularity in terms of the people taking advantage of them. We changed the Innosuisse training modules a little bit in the past years. We've achieved a record number of participants in 2020 of more than 4,300 participants to these training modules. Of these participants, 43% were women participating in these courses. This is an increase of 8%. It's going in the right direction. We haven't achieved parity yet, but it's moving in the right direction. The Innosuisse coaching vouchers have also increased of 6%, and we're now at close to 500 requests per year. Of the new requests, so the initial coaching vouchers, which is typically the entrance into that program, there's an increase in 6% of the amount of women that applied, still at an overall level, which is much too low, of only 22%, but it's growing, and we wish to try to see also this further grow in the next year. The internationalization camp participants have also increased of a whopping 36%, and we now have 570 of the most innovative startups that are actively taking part in our coaching programs. Now, coaching is one of the services that we offer. Obviously, there can be direct cash through the participation in innovation project, also innovation checks. So please have a look on www.innosuisse.guide for all of the support offerings that Innosuisse has to offer, and you will find something for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dominique. I think the compass or the arrow is showing the right direction. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. Up next, we move to Zurich to a national initiative called Digitalswitzerland that basically aims to make Switzerland a digital innovation hub. And we welcome here on stage Nicolas Bührer and also Matthias Zwingli. Nicolas, the stage is all yours.
Hi everyone, Sylvain, thank you very much. It's a pity not to see you here, guys, but we have lots of hope. Next year we'll make it happen. We'll make it together. So now let's look at the ecosystem. First of all, great results. Congrats to everyone in the entire ecosystem. Let's face it, 2 billion plus is amazing. I love to see biotech so good. And of course, clean tech, looking forward for 2021 and to see how we can develop. And to be honest, we can be proud to have so many unicorns. I loved his name, by the way. I don't know who found it out, but it's a great name, never heard before. And very proud to see we have so great numbers, more than the Netherlands, more than Sweden, and only half of Germany, Israel, and France. It's amazing. Now, Digitalswitzerland, like many other, we also working in the ecosystem, trying to develop it, to make it even better, broader, of course, in the next couple of years. So one of the projects we would like to show you, and we hope in 2021 it will be really big, is a starter battle as we organize within the digital days, as we did last year, everything online. And we will see in 2021 if it's going to be hybrid, online, physical. Let's see, it's going to be from September to November, working with Innosuisse. Thank you, Dominique, working with Amazon, Canton de Vaud. We hope many more next year. We had more than 5,000 votes from the public. And the topic was already, by the way, digital sustainability. For sure in 2021, it's our core business, digital. It has to be with digital and sustainability. Again, looking forward for this one in 2021. Next slide, please. And this project is really, I love this one. It's such a great collaboration. As you see the names here with SG, with Innosuisse, with Presence Suisse, and Swiss Next. Swiss Tech, we started last week at the CES, not in Las Vegas, unfortunately, everything online. We're looking forward in 2021 to visit more than 8 conferences altogether. My personal highlight, hopefully we can all go there. We'll be in Dubai in the Worldwide Expo, where we really want Swiss Tech to be extremely present in 2021 and beginning in 2022. I will now give over to Matthias Zwingli, who will show from our portfolio 2-3 more projects in partnerships with others. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, Nicolas. Well, a warm welcome from my side as well. Such a pleasure to have such a result, to prove such a resilient ecosystem. So next slide, please. In 2021, we have the absolute pleasure to present over 8 bootcamps. So we're increasing in number, 8 Swiss scale-ups. We connect with our Swiss corporate network from Digitalswitzerland. And with so many unicorns to soon be unicorns, I think this is a great chance to even speed up the process and make it more successful. 1 or 2 of them are one in sustainability as well. So I'm super happy to see clean tech and sustainability being the fastest growing sector in Switzerland. So super delighted for that. Next slide, please. Of course, in 2021, we have a lot of events, and we hope some will happen physically. Otherwise, we make it as digital as possible. We're a proud partner of Top 100 together with Venture Lab. It's always a pleasure to see the top of Switzerland and the top startups to be presented. Next slide. This year as well, we're a proud partner of Swiss Startup Days, happening on the 27th of May. So if you want to meet with the Swiss startup ecosystem at its finest, that's definitely a date you should remember. And last but not least, on the last slide, this one is still to be confirmed, but we're working on it that we could do the NOAH 2021 with the ETH Investor Dinner in Zurich this year. Here I still have to say, let's hope for the best, and let's hope we can meet physically as well. That's it from my side. Last slide. Thanks so much from Digital Switzerland. I give it over to you, Sylvain. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nicola and Matthias, for your pitch. Now, on our next stop in the journey across the Swiss startup ecosystem, we stop at the largest Swiss accelerator, the Swiss startup accelerator called VentureKick. They invest in pre-seed startups and support them with up to 150,000 Swiss francs per case. And we welcome over Zoom Jordi Montserrat. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure also to join this morning, the celebration here of the ecosystem and all the results achieved. I will quickly share with you actually also our year at VentureKick, and as said, it's been, as many mentioned, it's been an amazing year. Actually, we just published our yearly report. You see it here on the screen. And for those of you who want to check it, you have the small QR code directly you can download using your phone. I will put it at the end again. It's been an amazing year, and actually to give you the brief overview directly, you have it here. We've reached actually records as well. It was at the beginning of the year, as for many people, very much of a question, what would happen with the lockdown. We were able to continue our operation and to further support. We've seen the activity continued. I think the whole ecosystem, both public and private, really played the game, as it was several times mentioned. And this allowed us to continue and to have an amazing number of cases and to reach 5 million invested, 755 startups by now since inception, which have been kicked. Many of you, which I had the pleasure to share my usual credo, at the heart of all of what we do are the entrepreneurs, and we need at the heart to start at the very early stage. That's where everything was born, and then we see the great results that have been brought about upon the years. So as of today, we have reached over 34 million. This continues already within 2021. I will come quickly to this. This is what has been put at the early stage, reaching accumulated today, according to the data, we have over 8,000 active jobs in the companies which are today still active, that were started as many of years, 14 years ago. And over 4.2 billion raised. This is across the board between the equity and the grants. Grants are playing also at the beginning an important play for these companies to be able to start and to go through the famous Death Valley. And we see that the leverage of putting, at least for VentureKick, this very early stage money today has reached a level of 122 francs. Leverage by other supports. So you see here maybe the detail. Also per regions, we keep looking a little bit at the different dynamics between the regions, and you see here between the German part and the French part, the difference. You find all these details within the report. Here you see the big evolution over the years of how much average money we're reaching. 8 million invested by supported startups on average, and this is really rejoicing. Mentioned the ecosystem is very dynamic. Another key point this year, two of them. One of them was the merger with Volkswirtschaft Stiftung. Many of you know that they were active in Zurich. They decided to continue with VentureKick for their actions, which allowed us, of course, to have even more impact on our startups. And the next message as well is that we were very happy to be recognized by the Swiss Biotech Associations, and we received the prize of one of the success stories in this field. So what comes in 2021, and here is the message. We were able, thanks to the merger and our supporters, to continue and even further increase. The goal is to kick new projects, 86 projects per year this year. So we are reaching today 5.5 million in funding, and we are also happy to relate all the highlights that we have during the year in our alumni, so which actually also pushes or shows the dynamic of this ecosystem, both in terms of business deals and in terms also of exits, not just fundraising. This is the conclusion. I said at the heart and at the beginning, we are supporting the first steps of the startup. We keep on our mission 2027, and you can download the full reports with all the details directly on the website as of now. Thank you, and a great hello to Zurich. I will close here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jordi, for sharing these impressive numbers. 14 years of kicking and you're just getting started. It's just impressive. Up next, we continue our journey and go west to the beautiful lake of Geneva, where we meet Patrick Barbet from Innovaud, the local innovation and investment agency of the Canton du Vaud. You're also joining us over Zoom, so a very warm welcome, Patrick. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much. Good morning from Lake Léman here. Very happy to be here. Thanks for having us. It's great to be a partner of Startupticker for so many years now. We are actually Innovaud. The name is the same, but we are a bit different organization. You see a new logo. We are actually now also including a new mission to support foreign companies establishing in Switzerland. We have established over 150 companies in the past 5 years coming from abroad. And this is very interesting for us to combine both the fostering of the innovation ecosystem with foreign direct investment. We are a team of 16. And to summarize the type of services we offer, they are still the ones dedicated to startups with financing, and especially with partners like FIT and the Department of Economy of Canton de Vaud, with a budget for the FIT of over 5 million per year for startups, coaching networks, of course, different networking and promotion events, and also hosting in the 7 science parks of Canton de Vaud, including EPFL Innovation Park or Biopole, for example. On the invest side, we support foreign companies with different services, like helping them with work permit issues or legal or tax issues, and of course, looking for office space. If we look at 2020, of course, it's been a very challenging year. I would like to note the outstanding support from the Confederation and the Canton also, with the record amount given out as loans to startups, 36 million for Canton de Vaud. Looking at the investments last year, it's a bit lower than the year before. But if you look at the progression in the past 8 years on the small graph at the bottom, you see a very steady progression also in the number of financing rounds. And we are looking forward to 2021 with a lot of promising projects. To take a few examples, of course, in the domain of digital health, where this region has been breaking records. We have, of course, Sophia Genetics raising 110 million. These are very impressive amounts we weren't seeing in the couple of years ago. Also, Condu with over 80 million raised, and the domain of medical technologies like Luna4, 25 million, and also Polaris Medical. So I also have to tell you, we are very proud of Astrocast, who put 5 nanosatellites in orbit on a SpaceX rocket this last Sunday. This is also very inspiring, I think, for the whole of Switzerland, because we can be active in very groundbreaking domains like new space, and this is very encouraging. So I'll just finish by inviting you to follow us on different channels you see here. And I wish you a very nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Great numbers that you can share here despite a challenging year. And now that was it for our small journey across the startup ecosystem. Thank you all for sharing your initiatives and for the great work that you do. And it's my pleasure to welcome back Stefan for the final closing remarks of today's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks to all the partners for presenting. Thank you, Silvan. I think for us, it's for the numbers that we are presenting here, it's a bit like venture kick, so 2 billion and just starting. So I think that should be what we will have in the next years. Thanks again for your attention. You will find detailed information in the magazine. You can order it, you can download it, and if you have any feedback, any comments, any questions, share it with us, reach out to us. We are very happy to connect, to explain, to discuss. So whatever you have as an input, come to us, talk to us, and yeah, we will then get in touch with you. It is a special year, special times, and the last words, I think it's clear, like everybody else in the ecosystem. Let's hope that we can meet again soon in person, because this ecosystem needs this personal relations between the people from support organizations, from the VCs, and from the startup field. So I wish you a very good rest of the year, rest of the day, and I'm very much looking forward to see you again in person.